Yeah, man. I'm still reluctant to give you any kind of timeline, but he's absolutely making really good progress, and we're all happy with that. And one more time, we're not going to rush it by any means because we're looking at the long game for 2024 and having Steve available for a significant period of any type of the 2024 season is what we want, not just for 6 weeks here, 6 weeks there. But I'm really happy to see where he is this week.
Any other developments on player health and fitness?
No, Russ is still in a similar situation in terms of how we're defining that, and what I would say about that is that I think that there's been some positive turns in that, and that makes us all very happy for Russell. But nothing more in relationship to the details of that or the time period for that. Garrison Tubbs is making progress as well, as is Tyler Miller, and I think those are the majority of the injuries that we've had.
What the expected goals rate for you guys, for what it's worth, is tops of the league. What do you make of that, and is that kind of embody or symbolize the progress you're making in setting this plan forward?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. What I would say about expected goals is that it definitely shows you an indication of we're getting into the areas that we want. We're dangerous in those areas. And on the flip side of that, what I would challenge our group on, and what we have challenged our group on, is that we want to materialize those into actual goals, right? Expected goals and actual goals are sometimes two different stories. But I do think that the story has been we're generating chances, we're finishing some. We want to finish many more, maybe not all of them, but many more in order for us to secure more three-point results.
Coach, taking on the Columbus crew this week, obviously reigning champs, just preparation-wise coming into this week when you're playing an opponent like that.
Yeah, look, I would say you're going to hear from me often just because I do have a tremendous amount of respect for many, many coaches and many of the organizations we play against. I don't want this to sound cliche, but what Wilfred's done at Columbus and what he did at Montreal and how those players have really embodied their identity in a short amount of time to obviously win a trophy last year, the trophy last year, is so impressive. And you can see through even some injuries that they have and some players being unavailable, they still continue to embody what their identity and style of play is. So for us, we recognize that and we respect that, but we're also going to have our own match plan. And I think we're in the process of trying to develop that type of that type of environment, that type of culture, that type of playing style ourselves, where it's very clear and that we feel like we can go into any place and be competitive. And going to Columbus and being competitive is going to be a challenge, but I think it's one we're up to.
And Pedro Santos, obviously the goal scorer for you guys in the last game, played for Columbus when they won a title.
Yeah.
Has there been talk about him going back to Columbus and trying to get a win against his former team at all?
I haven't spoken to Pedro about that directly, but we have had conversations about just different experiences that he's had in his career, because his career is a special one. And the time that he had at Columbus was very special, and it's a time period in which he reflects on with with just a lot of positivity, and I'll know that he'll want to go into that place and have a good performance in order to help DC United on the night.
You mentioned Columbus and being able to sustain success with players in and out and injuries and whatnot. You also have a few injuries. Alex Bono having to step up, Steve Birnbaum down. How do you feel about the guys that have been able to step up as you personally trying to turn DC United around into a team like a Columbus?
Yeah, we haven't spent a lot of time or energy focusing on what we don't have. Steve Birnbaum's someone that I want to have in our team. There's no doubt about that. He's our captain, and he's a tremendous player in this league, as is Russell Canals. This is a big player that's been a big player for this club for a number of years, and we miss those guys. Tyler Miller is someone that can compete, no doubt about it, as a number one in this league. But then, the focal points of someone like Alex Bono and how he stepped up has been really impressive. And it's not to discount those guys that aren't available, but we have to go and have to make progress with the group that we do have. And, you get to see Lucas Bartlett and Chris McVeigh step up in a major way for us. We ask our center backs to do a lot, and without Steve Birnbaum there, those two have really held down our back line in a tremendous way. And you look at Matty Peltola and you look at Jackson Hopkins and how they've stepped up with Russell Knaus being out. That's exactly what you hope for. And we're not going to be reliant on, just one or two individuals, albeit those are important individuals. We have to say that.
We'll go back to Stephen Goff.
The Columbus, the Cucho Hernandez situation is kind of a mystery. How do you, obviously he's a huge player, how do you prepare for a team not knowing whether he's going to even be in uniform?
He is a big player for them. Again, how they handle that situation is something that I respect. He's a big player, and it's hard to leave a big player out, but they have their reasons for doing so. But at the same time, I would say the other options that they have, and the young kid up top row, Diego Rossi obviously plays up there and was MVP of the league. They have other options that can hurt you in different ways. I think they're two wing backs as well, whoever they choose to play in there. But, Farsi and Yeboah have been there often. These are two really, really dynamic players that also help them create goals. So they're missing number 9 potentially. He may be back. But if they are missing Cucho, then the next guy will be ready to fulfill a role and be dangerous on the night.
The training up there, you have music going. Is that new?
Yeah, sometimes you need some days. I think it's okay to have a little bit of music. It's good for the soul. It's good for the energy in the group. And they've been working hard this week as they have been every week. But today felt like it was a day in which maybe some tunes needed to be in training. So
It's not every day.
not every day. No, not every day.
Who picks the soundtrack?
It varies. It varies. Today they had the pleasure of listening to a little bit of a soundtrack that I put together. So there was some. I have to educate them that way too, Steve. It's not. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Awesome. And then we'll go one more to Jake.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned some of the players having to step up. Alex Bono coming off a clean sheet and second in the league in saves this year. What have you seen from him as he's had to step into a role that he's comfortable with? He's been in a role like this before in the past. Just how good has he been playing in your eyes, especially coming off a clean sheet?
Yeah, like you said, Alex has been in that role before. He's won trophies before, and I think what's most impressive about his career path is he went from that position to having to be in a second role and maybe not perform at the levels that he was performing at earlier in his career, and he had to recreate himself in some ways and continue to believe in himself. And so that recreation and that belief, I think, is now seen itself come into 2024 with the start of the season, and him being the number 1 for us, and him really taking hold of that position and saying, I'm not going to let this opportunity go past, and try to continue to grow from that and get better every single week. So I'm really proud of him, and we're going to need him to continue to make big saves and just make big decisions in the game as he has been for these first 6 matches.
Awesome. Now we'll go to some Zoom questions, Matt.
Thanks, Brian. We'll start off with Dave Johnson.
Hey, Troy, Vinny Benetti says hello, or Dr. Vince Benetti.
Okay, okay.
He's now known now. He was Vinny Benetti when I knew him many moons ago. And we got to get a sponsor for that playlist practice, so we can do that. We can make that happen. You were talking about, what Wilfred's done at Columbus, and obviously you're trying to do, I was just coming to mind, you're trying to build an identity with DC United, and it seems like players are buying in. What are some of the key elements when you're trying to bring that along? Because that's a day-by-day, training-by-training process. So for you, what are some of the key elements?
Yeah, well, I actually saw Dr. Benini about a month and a half ago, and I haven't seen him in a long time, so please give him my best as well. I've talked about this before, but I think it's really important to have a real clear direction that you want the group to go in, and the values that this club now are starting to embody, and we're in the beginning stages of that, but I think we've really doubled down on those. And you talk about it being an everyday thing. These are things that we talk about every day, that we reference every day, individually, collectively as a group, and we hold ourselves accountable to. Ultimately, the players, they have to see the direction, then they have to believe in it, and then they have to go execute in it and gain confidence off of that. And I think that's what we've been able to do in the early days. We have some different layers that we want to continue to add to this identity as we continue to move forward in the season, but I think it's been a really positive start.
pitched a positive start. What are you most pleased in? You picked up points on the road. You're winning at home. What are you most pleased with?
I mean, I'm pleased with a few things, but I think the number one thing I look at our all 6 matches that we've played, no matter where we've been, and we've been at the Western Conference champions, we've been at the Eastern Conference champions and Supporters Shield winners in Cincinnati. We play in the MLS Cup champions. This weekend we play Inter Miami, which is never an easy opponent, and a few more in there, and New England, Portland, and Montreal, all of which I have a lot of respect for. And I think that we've put our style of play out there every single match. And you can see clearly what we're trying to do. Everyone believes in that. We've been able to obviously get results with that, and we don't change. We might change a tactic here or there, but we don't change. We continue to do what we want to do and impose our will in the game, and that's very important.
Thanks. Next up, we'll go to Bruce Murray.
Hey, Troy, congratulations. Great win.
Thank you.
I was having a great conversation with John Kerr this morning. He was Duke coach, and we were talking about DC United, and we're both trying to figure out like how the press works, how you can keep pressing the whole game. How much does fitness, the physio, play into that, and also the buy-in on the players? It's a tough way to create offense, but man, it is very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, there's the physical component of it. There's no doubt about that, and our players are exceptionally well prepared that way. But I think it's probably more when we talk about values. I mean, this is, again, something that I would go back to. In order to play in the way that we're playing and have an identity like this, you really have to look beyond just yourself. I think this is, by nature, at the pro level, it can be a selfish endeavor, but this is a selfless act to be able to go and press and hunt and work together throughout the entire match, because when you get exposed too, you can really be opened up, and the opponent can have some big chances. So, there's vulnerability to that as well. But when it's done right, again, when I say impose our will, we're able to do that on most any opponent. And I think we want to grow into a team that can continue to do that over the course of 90 minutes every single match. And I think we're still a little ways off from that, but we're through 6 matches in a pretty good spot for the early days.
Thanks, Troy.
Next, we'll go to Ryan Kiefer.
Hi, Troy. I don't think this part was covered, and I can't believe it if it hasn't, but I was wondering what education was on the playlist. I know Joel, as I spoke with Joel Tyson recently, he mentioned you're a bit of a big Smalls fan, but I know there are a couple people in the room that fit the demo of appreciating him too. Yeah, I mean, look, sometimes you have to have some Notorious B.I.G., but I also, like I said, it's an education. There's Elvis Presley, Suspicious Minds today. This one, I guess, is part of an education. You have to have some different stuff on there. Gypsy Kings, Hotel California, their version. I like it. It's all over the place, this playlist, but I like the interest in it.
All right, that's it, Troy. Thank you so
much. All right, thank you, guys.